Hi, I'm Stephen Button. I just wanted to remind you never to trust anything that goes through your mind. I hesitate to say your mind, it's the mind. It's like this shared relic of being human that we all need to come to grips with. It has nothing to do with you, it's nothing personal. Thoughts arise and thoughts arise and thoughts arise and pass away. And Buddha and countless other scholars have said similar things. You need to pass through the layers of the mental chatter so that you can reach your essence. Now, there's personality, persona, and then your essence. And which one do you live out of more? They're both kind of essential for cohesion to keep the entity together. Like, notice these vague terms I'm using. You've associated with certain stories, and that's why you're stuck. The stories have nothing to do with who you are, their personality, their armoring. They were adopted based on a wound in the past. And if your life is a house with three rooms, let's say, this room is the past, this room is the present, and this room is the future. The main reason you're suffering or caught somewhere is because you're confusing a lot of what's in this room into this room. So the what you were is not what you will be. When you say I am this, I am that, the only evidence you have is that you've been that in the past. Why don't we consider giving that up? Because we have the comfort of at least knowing I've been this, I've been that. There's a more profound comfort that comes out of living in the essence. And you've definitely experienced glimpses of that when you're in a flow state. I had a near-death experience where I experienced glimpses of it. My most profound glimpse of it was just walking on a beach with my father, and a woman ran by, and a wave came in and washed out her footprints. And I've tried to break this down in countless ways. Not necessary, it's just my path. Because for me, I've experienced it already. I would love to share it with more people, and that's what I do with clients. And I want to break down the mechanisms to find the functions to deliver those functions. I was holding on to certain belief systems around this woman, around like potential of love and the family. And I was with my father, and that's an archetype. And then when the waves washed away, all those stories washed away, all the persona washed away, and that was just essence left. So I realized what became heavy on me, what became suddenly non-essential was everything I'd been carrying that was personality related. Or you can conflate that with the ego as well. I'm not sure they're exactly the same. I was carrying this big old film camera, and it was it was like 20 pounds. I mean, it was just this big old 1970 Bolex 16 millimeter film camera. Because I had been an artist and I wanted to sort of transcend and come into the culture more and be more accepted. So I chose this like quixotic enterprise of like this already antiquated technology, already setting it up as being impossible for myself as this way, this bridge to like more popularity. And I just wanted to drop this thing into the ocean. I mean, I didn't for various reasons. Suddenly this became dead weight. And think about what a camera symbolizes. The reason I want to bring this up is because you can analyze your own story and rewrite your story based on your illusions and what you're carrying. The camera is about like reflecting something that's not real, like a chimera, like a like a puppet show. And we kind of accept that story for a while. So any story that you've been living into, you can dissect in all these ways. That's why Stanislav Grof suggested creating this Coex Journal, a journal of connected experiences, because they all thread together in all these mystical ways. And I've created some books and works around this to try to kind of find cohesion and try to find clarity in this vast, holistic, seemingly endless picture, and it really is. However, we can work at the layer until we reach a level of healing, and then we can work at the next layer, and we can kind of decide when we're going to slow that journey. At first, all the shit just hits the fan, right? You're really stuck. Your life keeps continually sending this message. It's this Joseph Campbell call to adventure. It's been declined, or you took it, but you took a safer route that wasn't really the thing. Tried to go around to get the the booty without going through the guardian, the gatekeeper. So voila, we're still here, right? And we all do this. How do you find this depth of healing? How do you create resources? How do you use resources to facilitate this depth of healing? That's been my purpose for many years. And I was just working on a vintage typewriter a while ago, exploring this place where like the digital matrix interfaces with what we create and what we do. And even in this talk, it's like there's this mediator, which is this digital interface. And yet I'm talking human to human and bridging that gap. I mentioned that in terms of the typewriter because I'm exploring ways to create without this digital intermediary. Even the cadence of writing is much different, and I notice a different voice comes forth. So this is another layer of the journey. Like, are you writing your story on a computer? Are you writing your story on paper? Rudolf Steiner would say, Ahriman can kind of infiltrate and controls any sort of electronic or digital interaction. And the written word is under the guardianship of the angels. So that's interesting and profound. There's a person, T.C. Lethbridge, and he used to do all these experiments where he could have a letter that someone wrote and hold a pendulum over it and kind of see who that person was, what gender they were, what they did for a living. He would sort of tune into his inner self. With this pendulum, he'd ask questions, yes or no, and just kind of hone in on who that person was. I mention that because even this written paper has this emanation, whatever that wood or the wood pulp or whatever synthetic material was in there. It's like if you touch and create something, that's your emanation. That's your emanation. Those are hints of the essence, and also I'm sure some of the personality gets woven in because you have the essence and the occupation, and you can clarify certain details based on what's coming off of that thing. We produce emanations too, and these spiritual figures and these religious figures and these saints, they emanate a certain vibration that's considered divine by people, that makes miracles possible, that allows healing. The reason they do that is because some of the ego has been stripped away. Think of that as you've put this basket over your light, to paraphrase Jesus, and when you take the basket off, you're just pure light. Pure light. This enlightenment idea. I was reading Ari Thornton lately, who's a kind of a psychic in the Rudolf Steiner tradition. And he was saying that people that are overweight have a more difficult time accessing certain psychic phenomena. Like some of those senses are dulled somewhat by that extra weight. And there's certain he sees certain energetic attachments in there as well. So this becomes a complex picture. I was listening to something the other day, and it was saying the hero's journey in the Joseph Campbell sense. You going from where you are now, this idea of identifying with illusions that are fictions, this idea of holding this big old camera with you, or whatever the other illusion is, and carrying it, like I was on a hike by the ocean carrying this big old thing. You have the equivalent illusion, and that's why you are here in this place where you can't quite cross the threshold in that area of your life. This screenwriter was saying that the Joseph Campbell call to kind of awakening, the hero's journey, is a path of shedding, sort of detoxifying all that is not you. And of course I wrote Edenbound, which is doing this through a fruit cleanse. And we do it through psychology, in other ways, through somatic, release from the system. There are a few ways to do this, and to do it all at once is the most profound way. Not everyone wants that or even needs that at the moment. We have lives, we have families, we have jobs, we have whatever. We're holding together some sort of cohesion, and our life is networked out from our constellation of stories, our loose network. So sometimes we maintain this identity long enough to go to the next thing. However, remember, you'll keep getting these whispers until something changes. And there's no way around that. It's like your destiny, your destiny, your destiny. Boom! For me, it was a broken neck or some other cataclysm at different points in time when I ignored the whispers of destiny again. And they often come through the body. So this isn't like a philosophical rant. It's an embodied process. So I just wanted to share that little snippet and thought to see if it brings any awareness to you in your healing and your journey. So thank you so much. I'll see you again soon.